Hey everybody, it's Matt from the house, and today we're going to talk to you a little bit about Stomp Pads and what they do and how they work and how to put them on and everything. Let's go ahead and check this out. All right, so obviously when you're getting on and off the lift, you don't have your back foot strapped into your binding, and when you're gliding around, or, you push a little bit, set your foot on the board. The tops of these boards can get a little slippery, especially if they got a little moisture or some snow on them too. So that's exactly what Stomp Pads do. Is no matter what they're made out of or their shape or anything, they're all going to add some dimension to the top of your board. It's basically adding some grip. So when you go ahead and set your foot on there and you're moving and you're cruising along the snow, that back foot has less of a chance of sliding off of your board and potentially making for a bad situation. So basically that's what your Stomp Pad is there for. It's to give you some traction. Do you need it? Maybe not. Obviously, if you're a little bit more experienced rider, you have a little bit more control over your board. When you put your foot there and you push it against your back binding, that helps give you a little bit of traction, but definitely can't hurt no matter what skill of rider you are. If you are a beginner, I would definitely get a Stomp Pad just because it's a big tool that can, help, getting on and off the lift a little bit easier, because when you're first learning, obviously this is a whole new foreign thing to you anyway. So any advantage you can get can help. So first thing you do is pick yourself up a Stomp Pad. I like the crab grab myself. These guys got pretty cool stuff, but there's tons of Stomp Pads out there. They're made out of foam, they're made out of urethane, some of them made out of metal. So it really just depends on, what you prefer. So placement on the Stomp Pad is pretty easy. You're basically gonna take and you're gonna put it, towards your back binding. You don't wanna have it right up against your back binding. If you ever need to make some adjustments, then it's gonna be really hard to be able to move that back binding in a little bit. But somewhere near your back binding so your foot gets that traction, and then also, you can still put your foot up against that back binding too. So it just adds some stability overall. But pretty easy to put Stomp Pads on. They all have somewhat of a, adhesive on the back. It's just a peel and stick. The big thing I always say too is when you get a new board, if you get your Stomp Pad, make sure your board's at room temperature. Or if you buy a Stomp Pad for your board that's at home and you store it in the garage or someplace where it's cold, big thing on this adhesive is it's super strong adhesive, but if your board's cold or dirty, it's not gonna stick and you're gonna find out that it's gonna be gone the first day that you use it. So super important. Make sure that your board is clean. Use some Windex, some sort of cleaner just to make sure that it's nice and clean and dry and there's no dust or dirt on there. But also make sure that the board is at room temperature. Very important. So with some of the Stomp Pads, the Crab Grab one, they got these little claws and these come 4 in a pack. So, you can use just one if you want. You can use 2, use all 4. There's tons of different, configurations and obviously tons of different Stomp Pads out there. So anything, whether it's this tiny little claw or whether you're using multiple claws or a big Stomp Pad, they all work and they're all gonna add that traction to the top of your board. So for me, with boards that do have the channel mounting system, I do suggest to get a multi-pack Stomp Pad, something that comes with a few that you can kind of arrange in whatever pattern you like. Mainly because that channel going through the middle of the board there, a lot of times you're going to want it close to your back binding, but you'll notice right here on the channel, your binding can go all the way up to here for adjustments. So you could still, use a Stomp Pad. Kind of the area that you're going to want to use a Stomp Pad is going to start, distance-wise from the binding somewhere around where the inserts go in there. So this way you can actually have your Stomp Pad and put it on either side of that channel. Versus if you have a board that just has standard inserts, you can pretty much put a Stomp Pad that goes all the way across. But again, no wrong placement as long as it's near that back binding. That's the most important part. So once your board is clean and it's at room temperature, it's pretty easy. You peel it off and you figure out where you want it. And me, I'll end up doing 2 of them, so I'll probably do one on this side, one on the other side. You know, if you want to do it along the edge, don't get too close to the edge. Another thing too, that when your board is carving, it's going down into the snow, and the snow, it can come over the side of the board just a little bit, which can also knock your stomp pad off. So move it a little bit off of that toe edge. If you want to put it in close to, again, no wrong placement, but close to the edge. After I said no wrong placement, that's probably a wrong placement. But again, bring it in a little bit, and then you just dig it down. So it's pretty easy. You definitely want to make sure that you give a good push on it. If you have stomp pads that have spikes on it, you know, obviously the foam is a little bit easier, a little more comfortable to be able to push down with your hand. But if you got one of those harder ones, the urethane that has the spikes and stuff on it, they give you tons and tons of grip. Just use your foot. Put your board down and step on it a few times and really get that adhesive pushed down on there. So, and then once you get all your pieces put down, or if it's just that one stomp pad, super important thing to do too is leave your board at room temperature for, you know, they say, you know, I say up to 24 hours just to be sure, but you want to make sure that it stays at room temperature for a while, just because you want that adhesive to be able to grab a hold of the board and really cure up. And if it gets cold, it's not going to stick as well. So you want to make sure that before it gets cold, you know, that adhesive, it gives it a time to kind of set up and really grab a hold of your board. If you go ahead and take your stomp pad, stick it on your board and go out and ride right away, I can almost guarantee more than 9 times out of 10, it's going to be gone by the time you go back to your car at the end of the day. So again, super important to make sure that your board's at room temperature and that you leave it at room temperature, you know, for a good amount of time, just to make sure that that adhesive stays on there and you don't have to go buy another pack of stomp pads. Not that they're that expensive anyway, but nobody wants to have to spend more money than they have to. So, all right, well, thanks for checking out our video on stomp pads. And if you got any questions about the stomp pads, or if you do have any further questions about placement or any of that kind of stuff too, you know, leave us a comment down below. We're on there every day answering your questions, trying to make sure that we get your gear set up right. Like, subscribe, get that bell on, find out when the new videos are dropping, and yeah, once your board's all set up and nice and grippy and ready to go, get out and ride, because any day riding is a good day riding.